ToddYoungONLINE presents Young Tales. Tales for the young and the young at heart. Today's story from Bulfinch's Mythology, Cú Chulainn, champion of Ireland. Oh, if any one of these ever needed an accent, this one. Listen now, and I shall tell you of Cú Chulainn, the Hound of Ulster, whose rage was like a storm loosed upon the plain, whose loyalty was sharper than any blade, and whose word, once given, was dearer to him than life itself. In the north of Ireland there ruled Concobar mac Nessa, king of Ulster, and to his sister Dictri was born a son whose fate was never meant to be small. They said his father was no mortal man, but Loof of the Long Hand, bright god of skill and mastery, who had sown divine fire in human flesh. The boy was named Satana, and even in childhood his deeds were those of grown warriors. By the time he had even seen 17 summers, there was no champion in Ulster to match him. When Satana took the name Cú Chulainn, why? And wed Emir, daughter of Forgal the Wily, he came to dwell at Emain Macha, the king's seat at Armagh. There he found glory, and there he found trouble. For among Concobar's court walked, Brecrew of the bitter tongue, a man who fed on quarrels as other fed on bread. Wow. At a great feast, Brecrew stirred the champions against one another, whispering that only one deserved the champion's portion, the finest cut of meat and the highest honor. Why should the best be given to many? Said Brecrew, mocking. Let the greatest of you prove himself, or confess that none is worthy. Yeah. And so rivalry flared between Ligeir the victorious, Conall Cernach, cousin of Cuchulain, and Cuchulain himself. Just made me want to say Cuchulain and all. Anyway, to prevent bloodshed in the hall, the matter was sent for judgment to Ailill of Connacht. Ailill sent them a strange trial. As the three heroes sat at supper, three monstrous cats, creatures of enchantment, were loosed upon them. Ligeir, and Conall fled into the rafters, clinging there till dawn. But Cuchulain remained at his seat. When one beast sprang at him, he rose, drew his sword, and struck it so fiercely that the creature fled whimpering. At daybreak the cats vanished, and Ailill knew the truth, yet the rivals would not yield. Still disputing, they were sent to Cuchulain of Kerry, a judge famed for wisdom and sorcery. One by one, they stood watch outside his castle, where a giant hurled oak trees like javelins. Ligeir fell, Conall fell, but Cuchulain stood fast. Then came a dragon, rising on hideous wings from a nearby lake, its jaws wide to swallow the world. Cuchulain leapt, the hero leap that shattered stone, and thrust his arm down the monster's throat, ripping out its heart. Either a big man or long arms, or it was a tiny dragon. The dragon fell, and Ulster's champion cut off its head. Yet still the master was not settled. One night when Cuchulain was absent, a stranger entered Concobar's hall, a towering figure, yellow-eyed, bearing a vast axe that gleamed like winter ice. He spoke in a low, like grinding stone. He spoke in a low voice like grinding stone. Who among you will strike off my head today, on the condition that tomorrow I shall strike off his? Ligeir accepted. With one blow he severed the head, and the stranger rose, headless, and took his axe and skull and walked out of the hall. But the next night, when he returned whole and sound, Ligeir was nowhere to be found. Then Conall Cernach tried, and failed likewise. At last, Cuchulain stood forth. Cuchulain said, I will do this thing, for better is death than a broken word. He struck off the stranger's head, but the next evening he waited in the hall in fearful silence. Oh, wait. The next evening, the hall waited in fearful silence. Cú Chulainn spoke softly to his king. Do not rise from your seat, Lord. Death is coming to me, yet I must keep my oath. The stranger returned, axe in hand. Where is Cú Chulainn? Here. He knelt, laid his head upon the block, and stretched out his neck. Strike then. I did not keep you waiting. The axe rose, crashing into the rafters like a falling forest, and came down with a thunderous sound. But it struck with the blunt side only. Cú Chulainn was unharmed, and the stranger stood smiling, no monster now, but Cú Roy of Kerry himself. Rise, Cú Chulainn, said Cú Roy. There is none among the heroes of Ulster to equal you in courage, truth, and loyalty. To you I grant the championship of Ireland, the champion's portion at all feasts, and to your wife, Emir, the highest place among Ulster's women. Woe to any who dispute this. And with that, Cú Roy vanished. The warriors of Ulster gathered around Cú Chulainn, lifting their spears and voices as one. Now, many tales were told of Cú Chulainn after this, of single-handed battles, of fury so great it warped his very form, of loyalty that never bent. At last he fell in battle, not through lack of courage, but by treachery and broken rule. Yet to this day he stands as the living image of the Gael, fierce in battle, honest in word, and faithful unto death. For Wales and England Arthur stands as the gentle, perfect knight. But for Ireland, it is Cú Chulainn, the Hound of Ulster, who bears the highest ideals of the people. And as long as Ireland remembers herself, his name shall be spoken, like thunder rolling across the plain. And here's where we end for today. Young Tales is produced and narrated by Todd Young from ToddYoungONLINE. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and join us next time for another story. Thank you for your support.